Okay, so we are going back to some basics today. This is going to be a nice and happy lesson. This lesson is all about using rounding to estimate. We've talked about before how in the real world, when you're talking about when stores are saying we have a certain amount of cars left to sell, the commercials are not going to say, come down to Miss Hall's Crazy Car Emporium where she has 2,827 cars for you to buy. No, you usually will round it and will say she's got about 3,000 cars for you to come buy. It's just easier to round that way, and people usually don't want to look into the details unless it is their job to look into the details. When you're planning money, when you're doing financial planning and investments and all this crazy adult stuff that is so fun, that's when you have to get into specifics on the exact numbers and where that's important. But there are a lot of things, like if I were to ask you, how many pieces of candy did you get trick-or-treating? Are you going to say, I got 87 and a half because my dad ate one or something like that? No, you're probably not. You're going to look and be like, man, I got about 100 pieces. I got about 50 pieces. Now, yes, I know. We all sat there and counted it. I did that as a kid, too. I'm sure you know the exact number of pieces that you got.
I did.
And I'm sure you're keeping guard on it because I know that those parents maybe try and steal it. Or sisters. But generally speaking, we would say, I got about, and then you would give a multiple of 10 or 100. I got about 20. I got about 200, something like that. So, we are going to be solving some multiplication problems, and we're going to be doing them by estimating. And when we're estimating, we're basically trying to get as many zeros as we can. So let's say if I have 6 times 125. Well, if I'm rounding, if the number is in the hundreds, I'm rounding it to the hundreds. If the number only goes up to the tens place, I'm rounding it to the nearest 10. But basically, I'm rounding it to however many places there are in that number, that's the place that I'm rounding it to. So in this case, nearest hundreds. When I look at this 2, what's it going to do?
Round it down.
Makes it round down because anything 4 or less goes down. So 6 times 125 turns into 6 times 100. Well, that's pretty easy. What's 6 times 100? 600. Okay. So then what about 39 times 5? Well, what's 39 going to round to?
10. No.
What?
40.
Yes. Yes, we're rounding it to by tens. 40 times 5, which really means, what's 4 times 5?
20.
20. And then I add my 0. Guys, this is where you can get in trouble though, okay? I'm going to be honest with you and say I have been looking at some papers and I noticed that for some problems, I have seen something like 40 times 5 and the answer that was given was 20.
What?
Yeah. So what happened there? They forgot to add on that 0. You did the first step of solving it and not the second. You cannot forget to add on that 0. Do you know what else I've seen? I've seen 40 times 5 equals 2,000. Because someone are just going zeros for everyone. Everybody got zeros. They turn into Oprah Winfrey, just giving out zeros left and right. So don't go crazy with those zeros. Pay attention. How many do you see? It's hard when the number you have ends in a 0. So that's why I write that number first and then add on that 0 afterwards. I know it's a pretty easy concept, and I think what happens is we're like, psh, easy, and you speed through it. And next thing you know,
You get everything wrong.
you're getting things wrong because you're just throwing those zeros out left and right, or you're leaving some off. So always pay attention to what you're doing, no matter how challenging or simple it is. So next one, 538 times 3. 538 will turn into 500 times 3. Well, now I'm back to what's 5 times 3? 15. How many zeros do I have? 1, 2, 1, 2. 7 times 314. Okay, turns into 7 times 300. Well, now I'm just going back to what's 7 times 3. Okay, how many zeros are there? 2 zeros. So I'm adding those 2 zeros back in. 2,100. Again, I cannot stress to you the importance of writing each number in the box. 1 number per box, guys. It's really going to help you stay on top of your place value. And it's going to help you stay on top of adding things up and just keeping yourself organized. So really, guys, this is it. This is the lesson. So what I want you to do is in your Daily Common Core on the back, you've got these problems here. You do not need to rewrite this. See how I've that's 31, I just put a 0 over it, turned it into a 30. I want the answers here only. So you are not going to write 7 times 30. You're just going to write 7 times 31 equals, and you give me the estimated answer. Because right here the instruction says estimate each product. Okay?
Write how we figure it out on the phone.
If you need to write underneath, 7 times 31 turns into 7 times 30. You have space underneath it. You can do that.
And what does it say 6 times 80 is equal to 6 times?
So over here, it's asking you to round, but then I'd like for you to draw another line for you down here so you can add the answer.
What do you mean add the answer?
Well, 6 times 88 is close to 6 times 90. So I would write 90, but now I want you to solve what is 6 times 90 and put the answer here, okay? Yeah, that's what I'd like. Okay?